Hi, I'm Tom Conley, President and CEO of the High Point Market Authority, and you're watching A Student's Perspective.
Hi, I'm Bianca and
Vanessa,
and you're watching A Student's Perspective from Fall High Point Marketplace 2021. Today we're here with Tom Conley. Would you like to introduce yourself, Tom?
Yeah, I'm Tom Conley with the High Point Market Authority. I'm President and CEO.
Sounds good. And today we want to talk a little bit about, we can start with your background,
Okay.
And maybe a little bit of how you got to where you are standing today.
I'm actually sitting today, but there are no clear paths for somebody like me. My undergraduate degree is in communication arts with a major in film, actually. I've got a master's degree in business administration, so it's kind of a mixture. I really am really glad that I had this undergraduate degree in the arts because working in this business, it's been helpful to be able to have some sense. I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but have some sense of what the artistic challenges are, what artists do, how they struggle. I think I have pretty good taste. I can't design anything, but I think I have pretty good taste. I think I can recognize it when I see it. So that's been really, really good. And in my role, both currently and in the past, you have to know business, and you have to be able to do all the accounting and all the things that come with running a business, because the Market Authority is a business. We're nonprofit, but we have to meet payroll, we have to pay all the bills, and all that sort of stuff. So it's been an interesting career. I've been in the film business for a brief period of time. I showed a film that I did a public service announcement for a dental association, believe it or not, to a bunch of dentists in San Francisco. And it was their convention, their annual convention. And we did a multi-image show, and we did a public service announcement. And I said, wow, this convention business is kind of cool. And from there, I got into conventions and trade shows and association management, and I've been in different industries, mostly consumer products. Been a fun ride, really enjoyed it, learned a lot, met a lot of wonderful people. And it's also given me the opportunity to travel on a global basis, which I had never been able to do as a kid. I'm the oldest of 7 kids, and my folks didn't have any money, so we didn't do much. But the travel has been fun, and meeting and talking to CEOs, meeting and talking to leaders of countries, and it's just been a wonderful experience. So from a student perspective, I would say anybody who is 22 or 23 years old and thinks they have their life laid out for them, unless they have very rich parents, they're probably lying to themselves. So they kind of need to figure it out as you go along. You know?
Yes.
But you got to prepare. And that's what the undergraduate school and later graduate school did for me. It gave me the opportunity to formulate and to understand, and then to apply throughout the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely well versed.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So we know that you've been involved in a lot of different industries. We did a little bit of background check on you.
Oh boy. So there's nothing in there about jail or anything?
No,
Okay.
not that I have searched.
Okay, good.
But it said that you started out in like the toy industry. You were president of like a toy company.
No, it was the Toy Industry Association in New York. We were the representative of the industry, so we ran their trade show, and we did lobbying. We did some global lobbying for standards for toys. We set up an office in Hong Kong for companies that were manufacturing the product in China, because our industry was under real pressure because there was all sorts of rumors about kids making toys for kids. It wasn't true, but we had to set up an organization who would go into the factories, make sure that the people weren't working more hours than they should, making sure that the people were fed properly, cared for properly, and they weren't underage.
Okay.
So that was a very interesting and trying time. But that was interesting to say the least. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Has that affected your experience in the toy industry? Has that affected the way that you look at design now?
It has. Probably the first time that I was really impacted by design, I also worked for the Housewares Association in Chicago, and I was really blessed to have a woman come to me, and she wanted to do something to help students. And so we started a student design competition, and we had students from around the globe bringing products to our once-a-year trade show. Many of those products made it to the marketplace. And so that was really my first exposure to students and to good design. We made sure that the students got patents or trademarks if it was appropriate. And then when I eventually moved on to the toy industry, the products that are designed, by and large, are designed by independent product designers. The big companies, the Mattels and the Hasbros, Legos, excuse me, they employ designers, but they also buy products from other independent designers, and then the designers get paid if the product is sold through. So we supported a program at the Fashion Institute of Technology, where I don't know if they still have it, but they had a toy design program. It was a 2-year program. It's a 4-year school, but you could major in toy design. We gave them $250,000 a year to make sure that it could continue as a program, and then every one of those students was placed in the industry. So it was really kind of cool.
Yeah. That's beautiful exposure.
Yeah.
So, I just want to stop for a second. We'll cut it out. Do you want me to grab you water?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure you were
thanks.
good. I don't want you to be like uncomfortable in the talk.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we'll jump right back. I know.
Really good
We're all
opportunity
like,
to take a sip.
we've talked quite a bit, so yeah. So we'll jump right back in. Do you have any questions for right now?
Yeah, I think so. So how would you say that your background in the toy industry led you to this now, being the president of High Point Market?
Yeah.
What was the path that you took that got you here?
It's, people have said to me, you're not the first one to ask that question, you're probably the third, but they said, what's the relationship between toys and furniture? And it's more from a business perspective, because this is all a business. And so I mentioned designers, the toy industry and the furniture industry. The bigger companies will employ full-time designers, but a lot of product is purchased from independent designers who, if and when the product sells through, then they get compensated based on the amount of product that is sold through. So that's point number one. Point number two is most of them use independent representation. So working with sales reps, whether they be dedicated sales reps or whether it be a sales representative that carries multiple products. When I was in the toy industry, we had a small group of companies that were in permanent space. The High Point Market is made up of a large number of permanent spaces, so that buying space for a year, even though you only use it a few times during the year, was a similar situation. And then we had, at the association, we owned and operated a trade show that was held at Javits, so that those were actually temporary booths. These are temporary booths here in this building, so you have that same kind of a situation. And then most of our larger companies were acquiring smaller companies as a way to grow. They had maybe taken their business to a certain level. There's not as much as that here, but there is acquisition, certainly. On the manufacturer side, we're seeing more of it on the retail side, quite frankly. And then there's sort of been that conflict between the big box and the independent toy retailer. Here, that conflict is between the retailer. It's not really a difficult conflict, but it's a channel conflict, if you will, between the retailer and the designer. Because the designers are out trying to get the best price they possibly can, as well as the retailers get the best price. So there were many similarities from a business perspective, and it helped me understand this business. It still takes a while when you move, even though they're all consumer products, when you move from one industry category to another, it takes sometimes a year and a half to sort of understand, because there's a lot of different personalities, a lot of different nuances to the way the products may be sold through. So, but it certainly helps to get a leg up if you have some sense of how it works.
Right. Yeah. So we did return a couple of times to that business aspect, and we don't have like a super grounded, obviously, background on that yet. Do you have any advice for future designers and future architects about business?
Yeah, architects, designers, doctors, lawyers, unfortunately, those skill sets usually do not include a good, well-rounded business background. There used to be a time when people would go to undergraduate school and you would get what they traditionally refer to as a liberal background. And it doesn't mean liberal versus conservative, but it meant that you took a lot of different courses from a lot of different areas. I just find it incredulous that somebody can graduate from a four-year college and never have taken an accounting class, an economics class, some of the basics about how business works. And so you get into a situation where you have to be involved in business, and then you're challenged. There's so many bright, creative people, whether they make products or whether they try to sell their services or whatever, and they've failed from a business perspective, not because they aren't good, but because they didn't understand business acumen. They didn't have the business acumen. So what we see in the medical profession, what we see in the legal profession is now people are hiring business people to run the business, and they do the legal or the medical. We're seeing it a little bit more now, even in the design side, where designers, especially if they grow to a certain size, they have realized that that's not their skill set. So they hire a business person to run the business, and they're in their prime responsibility is then recruiting new clients and helping to manage their colleagues, their creative colleagues, but they've got a business person who could then follow up, make sure the orders are on time, and all the things that you have to do from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Because you still got to do payroll.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've learned a lot of just how many people it actually takes to make a product happen, and like all the different units that we have to have and have to like succeed in, and how many people it takes to do that here. I've learned a lot about it here.
You're absolutely right. This whole global supply chain issue is not something that is easily unpacked, especially if you're a consumer or maybe even some people in this industry. We have a couple companies where they have a factory that's in North Carolina, it's in Virginia, it's in Texas, wherever it may happen to be, and they can get 95% finished with that product, but they're waiting for the knobs.
Yeah.
Or they're waiting for the handles.
Yeah.
And those are imported from a different country, Mexico, China, Vietnam, whatever, and they can't get them.
Yeah.
So they can't ship.
Right.
It's just crazy. This global supply chain issue is affecting even companies where the predominantly product is made in the U.S. And then, of course, we have this industry, much like the toy industry, migrated to China years ago, and then with the pandemic, a lot of them have moved to Vietnam, and so but now Vietnam's shut down for all intents and purposes. Practice made in Malaysia, Indonesia, they're shut down for all intents and purposes. So and now you've got that whole COVID situation as being exacerbated by the fact that they can't get containers. If they can get the containers, it used to be $5,000 to $8,000 to ship it over here. Now it's $20,000 to ship it over here. So we're seeing huge price increases, which of course is adding to inflation. So it's a very complicated situation. It's a very scary situation for a lot of folks in the industry. Unfortunately, we'll lose some folks from the industry because they're not prepared to, handle it, make it work. So coming out of the pandemic, we'll see a lot of changes in the way business is being done, not just in the home furnishings industry, but I think all around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how would you say that COVID had affected High Point Market? You've been around for the president for a while.
Well, our peak market in terms of attendance, and our job, we don't own any real estate, we don't sell, we don't lease any space or sell any buildings. Our job is to recruit and retain buyers. We set the dates for all the future markets, and then we do all the infrastructure. So the badges, the buses, some of the concerts, keeping the streets clean. We partner with the city, all that. So our best market in terms of attendance was fall of 19. So we've had 4 opportunities since COVID really hit to have market. We've been very lucky. We've had 3 markets under COVID. Our first one was October of 20, and that market we went 9 days, and we divided up the country and invited folks to come in. We probably had, we were lucky to get 25 to 30% of the buyers that came the previous year because they were afraid to travel, they couldn't travel, whatever. Of course, the international was shut down, and 10% of our market is international buyers. So that was very, very problematic. And then we had then instead of last April, we pushed it to June, thinking that COVID would be better. It was. We were all running around here without masks. We were celebrating. We're saying it's going to be a great market here this October. Yeah. And then the Delta variant struck and just wiped everybody out. Right. So this is our 3rd market under COVID, our first market under the Delta variant, hopefully our last market under the Delta variant. Right. And we've seen an increase from our June market in terms of attendance to this market, but we're still off 15, 20%, and a good portion of that's international, and the rest of it's just the fact that some of those folks are out of business, they still don't want to travel. It's a whole compounding issue there to sort of figure it out. So for us, trying to figure out what the new normal is going to be. People talk about that all the time. I hate that term because I'm not so sure there is going to be a normal. Yes. It's just going to be new. Right. So we've got to try to figure that out, and I'm really anxious to see how we return to what this market is going to be. It's going to evolve. It's going to change, and we've got to be very sensitive to the evolving trends and the evolving needs of our customers, so we can make the changes necessary. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. So I know that did get to a heavy part. I know COVID is a pretty heavy topic. So it is. Yeah, it is. But we are seeing a lot of success here. Good. There is no doubt that there is anything lacking here. From what we've seen, we've never seen it before. Right. But the experience that we've had so far, I just have to commend you guys from whatever worth my position is towards you guys. You. Yeah, absolutely. We really are so appreciative of the opportunities you've given us. Well, and I'm so glad you had the foresight to show up. Quite frankly, some sports personality one time said, 50% of winning is just showing up. Right. Yeah. And I really believe that. We have people who are the first time to market. They've done no research. They get off the bus there at the transportation terminal and they look around and go, well, where's the convention center? There's 180 buildings here. There's no convention center. Right. All you have to do is read, and begin to prepare. Yeah. I mean, we have people, I swear to gosh, they are so bright and so creative when it comes to designing product or interiors, but they're dumb as a rock. And when it comes to preparing to go someplace and figure out what's going on, just read, go to our website. It's all there, and figure it out. Absolutely. So it's just crazy. So anyway, I think the fact that you guys are here, that you're learning, hopefully you'll come back. Hopefully you'll get a job that forces you to come back many times. It's funny, we do what we call an insider's tour, and we must have had there are 5 different tours run by people who've been to market for many, many years. You sign up for it, you visit 12 exhibitors, and you get a chance to walk around market and see what it's all about. So we had about 150 to 200 people this was their very first market. And we partner with an organization, and the guy that runs that organization said to them, assuming that you will be successful and you'll be in this business for many, many years, he said, how you work this first market, how you view it and understand it, and set the tone for how you come back and work future markets. He said, you will always remember your first market experience. Yeah. And I've talked to people that have been here 30, 40 different markets, and they do remember their first market experience. And the reason why they remembered is that they were ready. They missed a lot. They'll tell you that they missed a lot, but they certainly weren't naive to what they were walking into. Yeah, right. The other interesting thing from a designer perspective, and I just started at the end of this practice, but we had a lot of exhibitors here who didn't want to see designers. They had no designers welcome. Wow. Yeah, so they were interested in selling big box retailers. They're interested in selling truckloads. They didn't know how to sell to designers. The product was just stacked high. And there was no sense of style, no vignettes. You walk around and you've seen the home furnishings are displayed now. They're absolutely gorgeous. Oh my God, but stunning. So it's really changed a lot in the past 11, 12 years. And that's a good thing because
Yeah.
it has really elevated our market. We now have probably a base of product that is still sold by the truckload, and then we have a middle, we got an upper middle, and then we got a really high end. And so it's a nice variety of product price points.
Yeah.
And the design and the way that the whole product works is, or the way the whole product is distributed then, it has changed dramatically in the
Yeah.
past 10 or 15 years. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah, right? It's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Because this is our first market, I feel like there's so many things that we still want to explore. And we've been to a couple of buildings so far and just saw how amazing people's style is, how it differs between like one lot to the next. And I
Right.
think it's just so amazing that we have the opportunity to be able to see this and like see what our future entails. Like now we have like this whole room for exploration, and this
Yeah.
definitely was one of the doors that we could go through to be like our true selves. I feel
Right,
like.
right. That's absolutely right. And it's interesting because the really good designers really understand various styles, and when they sit down with the customer, they try to find out what's important to the customer and then design to the customer's needs.
Right.
There are some designers that are very well known and very expensive and have huge egos, and they will design. They'll walk in, they will look at the customer's place that they're working on, whether it be a house or whatever it may happen to be, and they figure out, well, this is what you need to have, and if you want it, fine, you're going to pay me a lot of money, and if you don't want it, that's okay too.
Right.
There are some people that like that, because
Yeah.
then they can brag that such and such a designer did this place. They had no input into it, but that such a designer did it for them. But most of the designers really want to understand the customer and match the style to the customer. The big budget programs are still there, but they're coming down in cost. So what we see is many designers are focusing on a couple of key rooms where the customer and the designer work really close together to make sure those get the style and the feeling that the customer wants, and then they'll do the other parts of the house. They may spend $25,000 on a sofa in one room that would be, say, the living room, and then if there's a sofa in a kid's room or in a TV room, they may spend $5,000 or $8,000. Just because that is going to need more, it's going to get more wear and tear. It's
Right.
not as showy, so to speak. But working on style, understanding style, being able to relate to your customer is so important, and that's why we see so many. I mean, I've never seen so many products that, and I'm not a product expert, but you walk in and say, what's the difference between this company and that company and that company? But there are, and so the challenge for that company is to find the designer or the retailer that will represent them the best, and to be able to deliver that product to the consumer in the way that the consumer wants it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. It's so exciting for us too because like even the two of us sitting here, we come from the same school, we are in the same year, and our design ideas are so different.
Of course.
I feel like we've resonated.
And that's
with at
good,
least,
by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
I was just about to
amazing.
say, it's so
Yeah.
exciting because we were always given the same rules, the same boundaries, the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
everything, and then we like talk about our projects, and I'm like, how did she even think to do things like that?
That's right.
And she says the same
Yeah,
thing to
vice
me, and it's
versa.
just we
Yeah.
bounce ideas off of each
Yeah.
other, and I think it's so helpful that we have different brands.
Well, I think so, and that's the creative process.
Right.
That is and then eventually, if you decide to do this for a living, then you can make sure you do all that, and then you have to fit it in your budget.
Right,
and
right.
being able to communicate your ideas before you execute them to a customer who's going to pay you money.
Yeah.
So it's a great challenge, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Coming
And-
here, oh sorry.
No, you're
Sorry.
first.
Coming here, we have learned so much about business. At school, it's kind of like business is important, but coming here is kind of, we've been taught you need to budget a project in order to know financially how much it's going to cost. Learning about businesses and like how much things cost in designing, manufacturing, and wholesale and things like that.
That's right.
I would have never known any of these definitions if I had come here, and really
Absolutely.
opened up my mind to so many new business terms, and I think that's so
great.
helpful.
Yeah.
And you know, quite frankly, designers have different business models the way they work. I've met and worked with designers who are very creative, and they don't want to be bothered with marking up the product. And since they don't want to mark, and for many designers for many years, 30% of their profit comes from the markup on the product.
Yeah.
But they say, no, I'm not going to do that, because they're working with the consumer. I mean, everybody's got Google, so if they've got a certain product and they like that product, they don't want to have to explain every single time why the consumer has gone to Paragold or to Wayfair and said, I can see the exact same product, and it's $8,000, and you want to charge me $14,000.
Right.
Why is that? The good designers will tell you why they're charging you $14,000 and what you're getting for that. You're not just getting the product; you're getting the design services on all of that. So they just say, go buy the product, but you're going to pay me for every hour that I work on the product. You're going to pay me for design. You're going to pay me for installation. You're going to pay me if there's any problems, and I have to help you send it back. At the end of the day, for the most part, those packages end up costing about the same, but it's the way you go about it because of the way your customer wants to be built. You know, it's sort of an interesting concept.
Absolutely. Yeah, and being a part of this, I feel like it's made us aware, and it's opened us to connection opportunities as well to understand all of that. Because I don't have a business background, but I would love to make connections so that I can kind of formulate one, you know, as the process continues on.
Right, and you know, you both seem very entrepreneurial, but I would certainly urge that before you go run off and do something on your own, that you work for a couple of different firms, that you find a mentor or two that can really help you understand. Maybe after you're out working. I mean, I got my master's degree. I was 42 when I finished my master's, and if I had it to do over again, I would do it exactly the same way, because you know, the typical person that goes right from undergrad to graduate, they don't have enough business sense to know what they don't know. And so for me, the master's program at that age was very, very good. I was already CEO of an association, and I knew that there was things I needed to learn, so I focused on those things that I needed to learn. It was really fantastic. In your case, if you choose not to go to graduate school, which is fine, find mentors, maybe take a class, do whatever you can to get as educated as you can from a business perspective, and then keep up with your craft in terms of all the creative processes. Make sure that you stay current on the technology, because the technology is changing dramatically. Because at the end of the day, you're the future of this industry, and that future is going to be very different in 5 or 10 years than it is today. So make sure that it doesn't pass you by.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that opportunity.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I have had a couple of thoughts along the way. We talked a lot about the business side. I think that's just because we are so eager to learn about it from your perspective with the position that you are in, and the positions that you have been in before. So I don't want to ask like a similar question to what I did before, but just like one defining piece of advice for us about business.
Be a sponge. Learn as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
You won't apply it all, that's for sure. But I think a natural curiosity about your craft and about business, because that's changing too, will serve you well over time. You're going to make mistakes.
Right.
That's part of the learning process, quite frankly. And I think the person who is successful and happy in his or her life doesn't dwell on their mistakes. They learn from their mistakes. They go forward. Hopefully they don't repeat their mistakes. And then you just continue to grow. I mean, if you stop learning, in my view, you should be dead.
Yeah.
You know, if you stop making mistakes, then you're obviously not challenging yourself, or you stop being challenged. Because life is about growth, and there's so many different ways to grow. The friends you keep, the business colleagues that you have, and as I said earlier, find a couple of mentors. And those will change throughout your career, but having mentors, and that's the value of the kind of program that you're in. You've got a great professor here. You've got people that around school that could help you. You know, use them while you can, and then move on and get your next mentor who will look out.
Yeah. And I appreciate that we've touched on that continually, that, education doesn't end. Your opportunities and your experiences don't end, especially if you're going to continue on with this career, that they're absolutely everywhere. It's just finding those connections, making them, and then following up and developing them further.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you've been to markets all around the world. Where would you say is your favorite market?
Wow, that's a great question. From a cultural perspective, I really enjoyed going to China. Yeah, because unfortunately, the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen China being politicized, and their government and their way of being governed sucks. People are really nice when you get in there. And I've been to both major cities, and I've been out in the country, and getting a chance to actually engage with those folks has been really, really fun. So getting to see new product. I was in a show in Shanghai, and they had a whole student area, but it covered, gosh, it must have covered 1,200 to 1,500 square feet, so it was huge. And there were student projects from, it's a big country, and so they brought a bunch of people in. There were student projects from other countries, which was kind of interesting. Probably the most fun place in terms of just great people and being around different culture was Australia. I really enjoyed being in Australia. It's a Malaysian trip, but it's really worth it. I will admit that the first thing I did was check the toilet to see if the water goes the opposite way, and it doesn't. But a little bit of a disappointment. I told you it went the other way. But yeah, exactly. But no, it's really fun. If you go to a country where they speak your language, you feel safe. You feel a little more comfortable. But I've been blessed. In most cases, when I've been to another country, I've had somebody who either speaks the language, or I can get a hold of somebody who speaks the language, and so having somebody to translate and help them along. That's been really, really good. A friend of mine who was working in Hong Kong, and his colleague decided that he wanted to walk and just go into any kind of a restaurant and order something. Big tall dude, about 6'6" or something like that. So he starts walking towards mainland China, sees a restaurant, walks in, looks at the menu, of course he can't read it, and he looks at the most expensive thing. He goes on an expensive counter and he points to it, and the waiter's going, no. And he goes, and the waiter goes, no. He wants it. All of a sudden, all the people around him. And long story short, he ordered a meal for 8. And when all this food came, he was extremely embarrassed. But that's what you get when you do what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're here and we still have a day, what is one of your favorite places in market?
Well, I think from your perspective, I think if you go to the Hamilton Red area and just walk around, see if you see a place that looks like it might be interesting, because that's most of that product is very higher end.
Awesome.
And so you'll get to see some really unique and interesting product. You get in and out of showrooms pretty easily. They don't have a lot of SKUs, but what they have is really high end and different. So that's kind of interesting. IHFC, of course, is huge, but you see a lot of different product. I suppose if you go to the design center inside of IHFC, you'll see some new and different product there. I always like to try to see the international companies when they're here, because it's different. Because different cultures, like different colors, like different styles, so to try to appreciate what one to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome because we get to experience all of that here, and it's like inspirational. It's very
It is.
like it evokes a certain feeling of excitement to go back to studying, even though we don't leave here, but to go back and to make it happen.
That's right.
Yeah. We were talking earlier. We were like, I can't wait to go back to school and just like tell everyone what we saw.
Yeah, and tell them what they missed.
Yeah,
right. Oh, we don't want to rub it in too much.
Well, please rub it in because we want more to come. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. They'll be happy to hear. They'll be a little jealous.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll be happy.
Well, you know, it's interesting because one of the techniques that we use to recruit buyers to come to market is trying to introduce this as a form of fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
you know, and
you
it
got it
works
here.
Yeah.
for students too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
When I walked in, I was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much to look at.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to Italy next semester.
Oh, you
So,
are? Are
yeah.
you going to go to Milan?
We're studying in Florence.
Okay.
We'd love to go.
Yeah, we would love to go out there.
Florence is a great city.
Yeah.
Fabulous city.
So what we've heard.
Yeah, it's
But we're also going to be missing next high point.
Yeah.
Oh.
Spring high point. So we already have a little bit of FOMO. Even though we're in Italy, we're just going to be
Well,
missing out.
but the Milan Fair is they're getting back to their normal schedule, and they're going to be we're early April, and then I think the Milan Fair kicks off like the 5th or 6th of April, and
Okay.
it's
We're going to go?
Yeah, right.
if you can get there, I
Okay.
highly suggest it. The benefit to that, you go out to the fairgrounds, and it's a bunch of buildings and in a long row, and you can work that and see a lot of different products. But the really cool thing, as far as I'm concerned, I love it anyway. But the really cool thing about the Milan Fair is that the people of Milan have embraced design, and they've embraced it in such a wonderful way that they've chosen the home furnishings industry ahead of the fashion industry.
Oh, wow.
So there are a huge number of exhibits and displays outside of the fairgrounds that are just set up in temporary buildings, and it's a whole cultural celebration of good design and unique product for that week and a half, and it is very cool.
That's
Google
so
Home
exciting.
was there with a display. There are car companies with displays. LG was there with a display. We're standing in line to walk into an exhibit. Go up the stairs, and it's totally dark, and the music starts. And the whole point of the display was that they have a TV now that the screen comes up and goes down. And that was our display, and then we had to leave. They're showing a new product that they show in a dramatic, special way.
Yeah,
Just a very unique way of merchandising. But merchandising during the Milan Fair, there was a whole building devoted to student work, so you can see from different countries. So yeah, if you can find the time and the money, do it.
Yeah,
It would be
absolutely.
once in a lifetime.
Yeah, I know, right?
It'd be fabulous.
Yeah, I am curious to know. So, how do you achieve this FOMO? How do you make that happen?
You know, because different, we try to use influencers, especially social media influencers, and we try to have a mix of social media influencers, influencers who have obviously a big following, but each of them has their own style.
Yeah,
Each of them has their own audience that they appeal to. We have to relate to an international audience. We have to make sure that we cover all sorts of demographics. So we've got all the minorities that we want to make sure we appeal to, and we're seeing many more designers of color come to our market, which has been really good. We've tended to be a very white industry, and that's been unfortunate. So we're trying to do more to increase the diversity in our industry. So it's been just, you know, once people get here and once people get it, sometimes it takes them a little longer, but once they get here and get it, then they never forget, and they're always excited. And if they can share that excitement with their friends and with their social media friends, that helps.
Yeah.
Everything helps.
Yeah.
That's my way.
Exactly. And you feel that when you're here.
Yeah,
You
oh, yeah.
feel that.
Yeah.
You
There's
feel the
certain-
diversity.
Yeah.
You look over, and the booth to your right is completely different from the booth.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's like a space for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think it's the best part. And as students, we walk around and we notice that diversity, and we just absorb it.
Yeah.
We're just like
Yeah.
a sponge.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is super cool to look at. This is also really interesting. And we're like taking all these things and keeping them in mind for our next project of our design.
Yeah.
That's great.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm excited to keep to keep moving forward with it. Absolutely. Yeah. So we will close with our final question.
Okay.
So if you were able to go back in time and give your student self a little bit of advice, knowing what you know now, what would that advice be?
Yeah, boy, grow up in terms of understanding business sooner, and don't take yourself and the rest of your life as seriously as you did. So it's trying to be more childlike while being mature about business, because I think the child self allows you to learn and to grow and meet new people, and the business sophistication is something that you need to learn later. And I think I made some mistakes from a business perspective earlier on. I didn't bundle the business. I was passionate. I wanted to be the next great filmmaker. Of course, I was doing it just as video was coming out. So terrible timing. But being able to understand business, and being able to understand how creative people work, and then being able to apply them, and yet still keep a sort of open mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
No,
It does.
absolutely.
It definitely does.
For sure, that is good advice too.
Well,
Because
it is.
no, it is because that's right. We can carry it on too. Yeah, and I would hope that our viewers can too.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
absolutely.
This has been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
you.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. Please like and share, and join us next week as the conversation continues with a student's perspective.